Hello and welcome to the live stream, ladies and gentlemen. My name is JT and you're watching Black Box Trading. We're going to do a market update. We're going to take a look at the price of Bitcoin. We're going to take a look at the traditional markets because we got Monday open. So we have price action for the week here on the S&P and the NASDAQ. So we'll be taking a look at that. I also just want a vibe check. If you guys are watching this and you're in the chat, what do you think? Where Bitcoin's at right now? We're up against a resistance. Are we going to break through that resistance? Are you bullish on what's happening with the price of Bitcoin right now? Or are you counting on a pullback? Are you sidelined? Are you short? Bullish or bearish? Let me know in the chat. Let's see what we got. And let's take a look at the king of all crypto. That is Bitcoin. All right, starting things off here on the daily. So we are below the 7 moving average. We said that we don't want to spend too much time below the 7 moving average on the daily. That's the weekly average price. We do want to get back on top of that. That level is currently sitting at 95,236. We need to reclaim that level to continue this move up. If we get another daily candle close, this candle just opened, so we've got another 20 hours left in this candle. If we close this candle below, then we're probably going to revisit some of one of these three levels, either the 200, the 30, or the 50. So shallow pullback is what I'm leaning on as far as, like, if there's a pullback at all. If this candle in the next 20 hours closes below the weekly average price, I'd be looking at the support here at the 200, which is a 90,000. Clean psychological level, 90,000. Previous support / resistance flip. We can actually pull a $90,000 level right here. Right here, you can see how many times it held as support. And it was a resistance here. So I could easily see that becoming a logical area for a bounce if we go down. I'm obviously, I'm still bullish. I think that this move so far has taken a lot of people off guard. I think, you know, the sentiment when we were down inside of this consolidation certainly didn't see us reaching up back into the 90s. I anecdotally feel like a lot of people are sidelined. I don't have any proof that a lot of people are sidelined, but anecdotally, given some of the sentiment, given some of the comments, and given some of the tweets that I've been seeing on Twitter, I feel like there's a good amount of people that are sidelined. There's a lot of people who are bullish, don't get me wrong, but I feel like there's an increasing amount of people that are either giving up on the market and leaving because they're kind of giving up on investing altogether, given the global trade war and turmoil, and they just anticipate that a recession is coming. But, you know, food for thought here. A lot of people think that a recession is coming. And what is the cause of that recession? Inflation. A lot of people are blaming that things are getting really tough out there because the prices of everything goes up. Eggs are getting more expensive. It's more expensive to fill your car. The price of all the goods and services is going up. So why wouldn't you think financial assets are going to increase in price? This is the interesting part for me. How people can be so bearish on asset prices when everything around them is going up in price. Everything around you is going up in price. Why would you think differently on asset prices? But I digress. Let's go down to some smaller time frames. Let's take a look at the 4-hour. Putting on the RSI. Not really a divergence taking place here. You could make the argument that there is a minor divergence here, but the reality is we have a low and we have a lower low, and on the RSI we have a low and a lower low. Even though that lower low is more exacerbated, it's still not a divergence. It does seem that support is holding, though. That's one thing to take note of when let's just draw a line here so that I can better show you what I'm talking about. When we put a support line on here, you can see that it's holding a support. It's more or less at that range. It's a flat line, whereas there is a divergence because that same thing isn't happening on the RSI. The RSI is declining. It's breaking through to new lows every time on the RSI. So in that sense, there's kind of a divergence, but it's certainly not a textbook divergence. But it is showing that this support level as it stands right now is currently holding, and there are enough bulls willing to show up to show that there's a divergence taking place, a little bit of a divergence taking place. All right, before we move on here, let's just catch up with the chat. Barbarian, we can take a look at Casper, but across the board, it's not time for alts, but we'll take a look. We're obviously in a correction. Interesting. I don't know what's obvious about it. This is the correction or the overall correction. I'm not sure. Bullish, regret taking 50% profit at 88K. Want to ape back in. Yep. Never move all in, never move all out. I think you didn't. I mean, you didn't. You did 50%. But yeah, as far as spot positions, there's no reason for me to be taking anything out of my spot positions. I'm still quite bullish. I'm expecting Bitcoin to be well and truly above $250,000 a coin by the end of the year. Like, that's conservative. I don't want to discredit myself with what I actually think. My friend who is wrong 90% of the time is a raging bull, expecting free money from M2. So I'll take the opposite side of that thinking for now. Fair enough. Counter it. Nothing wrong with that. But this raging bull agrees with your friend. Bitcoin dominance is acting up. All right. We'll take a look at that. We always do. We always make notes of what's going on M2. But let's just conclude what we're looking at here on the Bitcoin chart. So this weekly candle, I think, will be an important candle. If this weekly candle closes green, which I think it will close green, and I think it's going to close above this candle right here. Anything above $96,000 for this close will signal to the market that we're ready to give her an all-time high run. This area right here, like if we're on the weekly, let's just draw the line right here. You can see how many times, you can see how it held as support here. We came down, doji, massive doji. Actually, this was a capitulation event that almost got bought all the way back, but it finally gave up, and it was an area of capitulation. So $96,000 is a sticky spot for the market. I believe that this weekly candle, which closes in about 6 days, 5 days, 20 hours, will close above this level. I think it'll close above 100K. We got plenty of time left into this candle, but any close above 96 is a bullish close for me, and that will indicate a reclaim of the capitulation level. When you're trying to determine levels that are of significant importance, go to higher time frames and look at the most violent candles. You can see, like, let's zoom in here. Let me show you exactly what I'm talking about. You can see we have, increasing volatility, a double top coming in, and then doji, and then it finally gave up. Really violent candle to the downside. Two violent candles, really. Like this candle fell all the way down here and then got bought back up. But very violent capitulation candle. This is an impulse to the downside. It was an impulse to the support level of the prior cycle. We have this prior cycle line right here, and we're bouncing off of that. But, anyways, let's just stay on topic here. This is an important level to make note of because we tried to hold it as support for a week here. We tried to hold it as support for a week here. We tried to hold it as support for a week here. We lost it and tried to get right back up to it, and then we finally lost it. So a reclaim of the 96 on a weekly candle close will be a really big signal. So over the next 5 days, that's the number to beat, 96,000, which from here we're at 94.3. That's not hard. It's not hard at all. I mean, you could do that in an afternoon. Let's take a look at some smaller time frames, see if we're getting any hints down here. No divergences taking place on the 1 hour. So probably a liquidity grab is needed to the downside. I personally don't see us going below 90 from here. I really think that I think the bulls are here. I think the books are stacked bullish. I think there's more bids than there are asks. And I think any move to the downside will be bought up by bulls. Good evening, Garrett. What's going on, Mexi? Welcome in. All right, let's shift gears here. Let's take a look at the S&P. Most of the bull thesis for this year is M2 and seasonality slash cycle, with so many eyes on M2. Essentially, all smart money and now dumb money is positioned for it. Super correct. Absolutely correct. But does it mean that M2 is not going to work out? Because, M2 was a narrative all the way down to 76. M2, people were talking about M2, myself included. We're talking about M2 all the way down to 76. You can't argue. I get what you're saying. It's a crowded trade. But you can't argue with the fundamentals of M2. I agree with you that there are a lot of people looking at that area, looking at that chart, and where I still think it can screw people over. But the reality is the money printers are printing big time. So we'll have to see what happens with the FOMC meeting. That could be a major catalyst. So let's actually just take a look at that right now. How far out are we from the FOMC meeting? We've got to be like a week away now. Oh, it's tomorrow. Even better. So with that in mind, the next 1 day and 13 hours is actually going to be really slow. Should have been paying attention. Token 2049 was very distracting. So yeah, we might close below the 7 here, just because anytime you're coming up to a Fed meeting, liquidity dries up. It just dries up. So bulls don't make moves, bears don't make moves, leveraged plays don't make moves. So we'll have to see what happens with the Fed meeting. I think the Fed is expecting no cut, 98.6% no cut. We'll see if there is a cut. Now, the market is very, very certain that there will not be a cut. But what I would say is if the market is this surprised by a cut, that'll be a massive catalyst. And the one thing that I'm looking for in the markets for right now is a catalyst, because we have incredible negative sentiment. A lot of people just really concerned about recession and the future and inflation getting out of hand. I try to think, like, how is the composite operator going to manipulate people? How is the smart money going to manipulate people? And if they have convinced the market that there's not going to be a rate cut, and then they put in a rate cut, and the smart insiders have positioned bullish, then yet again you fuck over retail. So I always try to think, like, how is Wall Street trying to fuck over retail? And that could be a good way. I do think that there are a lot of bulls out there, but there's a lot of bears out there as well. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see in the next 1 hour and 13, 1 day and 13 hours. But overall, for Bitcoin, I'm bullish. Now, this doesn't go to cycles. I don't really believe in the 4-year cycles because we only have 2 data points. 2 data points isn't anything. That's just 2 things to look at. Because the first data point isn't a 4-year cycle. It was a 2-year cycle. So I don't think the 4-year cycle is a thing. I also think that the narrative for why the 4-year cycle is important is it becomes less important every single halving, right? The 4-year cycle is based off of the halving. Every halving is half as significant as the last. So eventually the 4-year cycle in regards to Bitcoin miners won't matter. And I think that we're entering into that period of the Bitcoin miners not mattering already. I think we're already in that. I don't think that the halving really matters. What does matter is the global liquidity cycles and the business cycles. And, you know, money printer go burr, man. That's what M2 is saying. M2 money supply is going up. The money printer is going. Is it a crowded trade? Yes, but it's a fundamental thing that we're looking at. How is this not a potential buy the rumor, sell the news event? Just because M2 goes up doesn't mean it needs to go back to the same place as it has, especially given the visibility of it now. Yeah, I don't think it's going to go. Like, people are actually mapping it out in correlation to price, and that's totally wrong. It's just not, there's no way to correlate Bitcoin price to M2. That's bullshit. So, you know, people are either going to undershoot it or they're going to overshoot it. There is no, you know, pound for pound, inch for inch measurement with the M2 money supply. So I've seen that chart going around saying, oh my God, we're going to reach to, I think it was over $200,000. I can't remember, but that's total bullshit. That's not, you can't, all that it is saying is that money printers are printing. That's it. Keep it simple. You are not going to be able to extrapolate any further data than that, because that's simply you could say it's a demand side metric, even though it's the comparative debasement, which is the supply side, but it's a demand side metric. And what's more important is the supply side of Bitcoin. So the supply side of Bitcoin is also a very interesting topic that we're not going to dive into deeply today. But yeah, you can't determine price projections based off of M2. You can determine potential direction. And even then there's a lag, right? So they're not super correlated. One way that we can take a look at the direction is with gold, though. So like however gold is performing will be a good indicator of what we can expect with Bitcoin. There's about, you know, gold is very reflexive of M2. It's pretty much when M2 goes up, gold goes up. And we do have a rally due. How long did this rally last? We're not going to measure how high it went because that's stupid. But how long did it last? It lasted 81 days. So once we start kicking things off and once we start breaking all-time highs in Bitcoin, you'll go from the low of where the rally began and you'll go out 80 days. And whatever price we're at that point would be a logical place to be taking profits. It's also not a buy the rumor, sell the news event because there is no news event with M2. It's just a narrative. Like there's no like, oh, M2 day. It's not really buy the rumor, sell the news. Climbing the wall of worry will screw people for sure. I don't know that saying. What do I think about the new Bitcoin Core news? I don't like it. I talked at length about it on yesterday's stream, so if you want my thorough thoughts on that, go check out yesterday's stream. But I don't believe in taking away functionality from node operators. That's kind of what makes Bitcoin special. The sovereign debt refinancing cycle. Yep. There's a business cycle too. Let's go into the indicators. Sovereign debt refinancing cycle. Do they have that? No. I'll look for it another time. But yeah, money's flowing. Money's flowing. Let's just keep it simple. Let's just keep it simple. All right, where were we? S&P. S&P probably is going to come down for a retest over the week. I think we'll come down for a retest and a bounce. And then people will be calling the inverse head and shoulders, which means we get up to the all-time high. I anticipate all-time high breaks across the board for everything. Gold has been leading. I think Bitcoin will probably do an all-time high break before the S&P. But the S&P, the NASDAQ, gold, Bitcoin, crypto, it's all setting up for all-time high breaks, in my opinion. I'm not swayed in the slightest. I am very, very bullish. You can't stop this train, man. You can't stop this train. Janet Yellen did issue short T-bills and notes. They will become due in the next 6 months. Okay. So they got to print, man. They got to print. All roads lead to money printing. All roads lead to the money printer. So you have a choice. Do you want to hold things that are affected negatively by the money printer? Do you want to hold things that are denominated in a currency that steal your wealth? Or do you want to hold something that is outside of that system? It's really that simple. And there's only one asset. And I don't care what the fuck you think about your stupid, shitty altcoin. I don't mean to get aggressive, but if you are thinking that there is a better version of protecting against the malfeasance of government than Bitcoin, you're wrong. And you need to do more research. It's entirely up to you. What do you want to hold? Do you want to hold manipulated currencies, manipulated assets, or do you want to hold a completely separate entity from all of that? And you'll say, oh, but Bitcoin's manipulated. Bitcoin's manipulated. Everything's manipulated when you exist in a monetary network where everything is denominated by the US dollar. Or any of the other 44 nations' currencies that signed on to Bretton Woods. They're all affected by the US dollar. So in that sense, there's Bitcoin manipulation, but it's coming from the dollar. If you want a pristine asset, you want the asset itself that will not be affected by any of this, then you want Bitcoin. At the end of the day, Bitcoin is completely separate from control. So let's, when in doubt, zoom out. Shout out to Didi at the Bitcoin family, because he says it all the time. When in doubt, zoom out, guys. Like, this thing only goes up. Bitcoin only goes up. Up only. You want an up only asset? Bitcoin only goes up. When will Bitcoin not go up only? Bitcoin will stop going up only when governments run fiscal surpluses, when governments don't print money, when tax dollars are spent well. So if you think that governments are doing a great job, they're not overspending, and they are going to run responsible branches of government without waste, fraud, and abuse. If you think that those are happening in the future, don't buy Bitcoin. If you think that government malfeasance is running amok and that everybody is a fucking scammer trying to steal your wealth, opt out. It's really that simple. If you agree, hit the like button. Got to do the shameless shills, right? But this is what I love about Bitcoin. It's afforded me so much freedom. And you know, it's not easy. Like, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that it was like smooth sailing. Like one day I decided, oh, I'm just going to save in Bitcoin. I'm going to think in Bitcoin terms and everything will be gravy. Like, no, you are. And this is where people start to really get triggered by the words that I use. But you are a slave. You are a tax cattle. You are a debt slave. And just like any slave throughout history, they have the option to get out of that. But that option is incredibly dangerous. That option is incredibly scary. And most people would prefer to not risk it. And most people would prefer to stay. And that's just the uncomfortable truth and the uncomfortable reality with, you know, a trigger word for a lot of people, slavery. You know, we are tax slaves. It's not supposed to be that way. Your taxes we're supposed to put people in power. The government is there to serve us. We elect these people to organize and manage our communities, to organize and manage our contribution, our tax dollars, to make sure that they are investments. Your tax dollars are supposed to be investments into your life, and they're not. They're not. They're embezzlements. It's theft. And where does it go? It goes to wars where they kill people. It's fucked up. It's fucked up. It's completely back-asswards. And it's not the way that it is supposed to be. And the only way that we can fix it is by changing the rules. Changing the rules, okay? And the only way that we can change the rules is by eliminating the human from the equation. Humans should not have monetary power. Period. End of story. End of fucking story. So what is Bitcoin truly about? Bitcoin is truly just about rule enforcement. We had rules. America was one of the strongest countries in the world. And how did they do that? They did that on sound money. If you look at the Constitution, if you read the Constitution, you'll understand that the founding fathers cared a lot about the money supply. And they were concerned a lot about debasement. This is a trend that's happened for millennia. Look at any empire. It was built on hard money standards and it was destroyed on fiat. So we need to come up with a rule set where nobody has control over changing the rule set. And the best chance that we have at that today is Bitcoin. Is it perfect? Is it seriously uncorruptible? That's up for debate. I mean, look at what's happening with Core today. But, you know, maybe empires and money just moves in cycles and it just ebbs and flows between hard money and fast money, hard money, fast money. And that's just the progress of humanity. But anyways, where we stand right now is a bad place. If you collect a paycheck in a government currency, you are in a bad place. And, you know, you got to put on your own oxygen mask before you can start assisting others. And Bitcoin is your life raft. Agree with you, but the only way to get ahead in life was them being slaves / sheep. So you have to admire and appreciate them. The only way you got ahead in life was with them being slaves and sheep. I'm not sure I follow. I don't think that. Well, okay. Yeah, if the money wasn't broken and if everybody wasn't using this currency, then, you know, but I don't know. I don't know what you're trying to make. I don't know the point you're trying to make. Bitcoin is for everybody. If everybody in the world, regardless of your situation, all you need to do is start accepting it as a currency and boom, your inflation problems, no, let me rephrase, because it's not inflation. Your debasement problems go away. Now that can be a volatile road, but you don't have a debasement problem, period. Is the moment you accept Bitcoin as a currency and you trade your time, effort, and economic energy for a currency that can't be debased, you will reap the benefits of that over time. So it's not a matter of me getting in early. It's not a matter of, trading. And it's not a matter of, the smart money versus dumb money, or people that get it between people that don't get it. It's a matter of the fact that if you work hard, and everybody works hard. Okay, I'm not saying like, oh, I work hard and you don't. No. Like, most people on this planet work really fucking hard. And at the very minimum, you should receive a currency that you can keep. The fact that we get paid government currencies, and the fact that in order to just break even, you have to invest, is a fucking stupid world. The fact that you need a 401k, the fact that you need RRSPs, the fact that you need mutual funds, the fact that you should buy bonds, that is all gobbledygook. That is nothing. That is bullshit. For the normal person, for centuries, you work, you provide value, you get paid, you spend less than you make. Done. That's all. That's it. That's all. And with Bitcoin, you have an opportunity to earn a currency where you just need to spend less of it than what you earn. And over time, life gets easier, because that's the way money's supposed to work. That's the way value is supposed to work. When you contribute value to this world, nobody should be taking it away from you. All right. Is this a technical analysis show? Because it's turned into a freaking heavy theory show. Let's take a look at the NASDAQ. Speaking of scam currencies, let's take a look at the scam index. Yeah, same thing as the S&P. We'll probably get a retest, and that'll be the setup for the all-time high break. Like I said, all-time high breaks across the board. That's what we're looking for. Now, somebody said Bitcoin dominance is doing something funny. It looks like it's doing the same thing it's been doing every week. Going up. It's going up. What does that mean, ladies and gentlemen? It means don't fucking buy altcoins. Thank you. Very, very good, everybody. Don't buy altcoins. You don't buy altcoins till you start seeing red candles. Oh, still on the BTC chart. Oh, okay. Let me refresh. Yeah, that's not refreshing. Let's see what's going on here. Let's do that. Refresh that. There we go. I guess it just got disconnected. Thank you, sir. Yeah, so Bitcoin dominance still climbing. Still climbing. Green candle after green candle. If you had told me a few months ago that we'd be targeting 72, I would have said that might be a little too extreme. My target was down here at around 60, but we're steadily climbing above 60. So there are people out there that think that 70 is on the table. And at this point, with the amount of strength that we're seeing on Bitcoin dominance, I think 70% is on the table. Yeah. So we're looking at around this range for Bitcoin dominance to potentially turn. Now, I don't want to get into a scary narrative for anybody. But there's something that I've been considering about this cycle that I think is unique. Now, take it with a grain of salt, because we have zero data to prove this point. This is just a theory that I've been entertaining. But what if we don't get an altcoin season this cycle? Because what if altcoin seasons are more so for bullish speculative good time cycles. Like the last cycle, there was a lot of like stocks were doing well, gold wasn't doing well. There wasn't this drive for safe haven assets. Now, hold the tomatoes. I'm not, it's just food for thought. It's food for thought. But there is more of a safe haven angle to the price appreciation in Bitcoin this cycle. So Bitcoin does well in business cycles. Bitcoin does well in global liquidity cycles. Bitcoin does well in equity bull markets. But does Bitcoin also do well in equity bear markets and safe haven bull markets? Because that's a possibility as well. We could see just gold, silver, other precious metals, other commodities, and Bitcoin doing well in a hard asset cycle, and maybe altcoins just don't go. Now, that's just food for thought. Okay, just consider it as a possibility. But this chart is just climbing, man. This chart keeps climbing, and it's very steady. It's not like what we've seen in prior cycles. Prior cycles, it kind of moved like Bitcoin. You had impulse 1 and impulse 2, and then you had your double top. This has, you had impulse 1, and then it just started chugging along really slow and steady to the upside. So anyways, I digress on the whole, is altcoin season not going to happen? Because, with enough excitement towards digital assets, of course there will be something, but 70% is seeming very likely at this point. So how do we get there? How quickly do we get there? That's kind of the question. But I think over the coming weeks, we could see an accelerated move in Bitcoin. In fact, I would argue that you would want to see an accelerated move in Bitcoin dominance, because let's pretend we pivot here. So we're up against a resistance, right? We're up against a resistance. Let's pivot down here. And now you get a little bit of love in the altcoins, but not much, just a little bit of a relief. But then we hit a support range. Then we'll rally back up again. I think you would be much better off as an altcoin trader just ripping the band-aid off, breaking out of this channel, going up here, and then immediately coming back down and triggering that down event. Velocity and these aggressive moves have a really large role to play in how price action plays out. And I think if we just meander, to the bottom of the channel, then go to the top of the channel, this will be much more agony for an altcoin trader than it would be if we just broke out. Bitcoin had a massive strong move, signaling to the market it's time to get excited, and then immediately reversed, and you get your 30x. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, if you're a long-term altcoin hodler, I do anticipate more pain for you, more pain. And if you are a long-term Bitcoin hodler, I anticipate you to be continuing to be happy with your position. Some may also consider Bitcoin to have too short of a history to have any firm conclusions. Yes, it's valid. It's valid. Bitcoin has never existed in a financial crisis. It was born out of a financial crisis, but it's never really existed in a financial crisis unless you include COVID. It wasn't really a financial crisis. It was a market panic. But what was the end result? Like massive rally. So, but everything was rallying. We haven't had Bitcoin in a really, look at this. Look at the Bitcoin has not existed. Go to the S&P. Zoom out here. Bitcoin has not existed in an equity bear market. We're up only in equities. You can make the argument, you can try and say that we haven't been in that, but guys, we have not. This is when we were in an equity bear market down here. It started in 2000 at the pop of the dot-com bubble. It was exacerbated in 2008. And since 2009, which is when Bitcoin, mined its first block in 2009, it's been in up only. You can't tell me that we've been in an equity bear market at all. So how does Bitcoin actually perform when equities are truly in a correction, a multi-year sideways trading environment where nobody's making any money? This was a long period of time from the market peak to the break of that all-time high peak was 5,000 days. How does Bitcoin perform in this type of environment? I'm not sure. Probably not too great. So that's from 2000 to 2013. Let's see what gold did. Let's see what the safe haven angle was. So 2000 to 2013 was a massive run. Massive run for gold. And where was the top of the gold market? The beginning of the freaking all-time high break in the S&P, breakout of the S&P. So it's yet to be determined. Maybe Bitcoin's most exciting time. Maybe everything that you've seen in Bitcoin so far has been Bitcoin light, Bitcoin not very exciting. Maybe the most exciting point of Bitcoin is when we go into an equity bear market. That'll be hyper Bitcoinization. That's Bitcoin to $10 million. If you guys are enjoying the content so far, please do me a favor. Do me a solid. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button if you aren't already. If you're on Twitter, do a retweet, do a like, do all the things. You're not new to this. And I encourage you guys to join the Discord. So go to blackbox.pro, BLKBöX.pro. You can get a free Bitcoin trading bot. Once you've logged into the dashboard, you just press get started. Let's see what happens here. Come on, load. This is it. Email, password. We'll send you an email with your OTP. You're in. That's it. It's super easy. We don't collect a lot of data. We don't want to know your name. We don't want to know. You don't even have to give us your main email. You can use an alias email. Come into the Discord. Come hang out. It's 100% free. The only thing that we ask is that if you take a trade, you do so with one of our partnered exchanges. Currently, we're partnered with BitGet, Bybit, or Blowfin. And that's it. Free trading Discord, free trading algorithms, free investment algorithms, free trading educational resources. Soon we will have Copy Trader as well, so you could algorithmically copy our trades in real time. All of it given away for free. You just got to be linked up with one of these partners. Bitcoin is the only cryptocurrency with value. I'm waiting for a major cryptocurrency game to take traction, though. There's a lot of potential in gaming for the few that actually get the formula. I agree. I think, gaming is certainly one use case. For me, Bitcoin is the incentive layer. Just like dollars are the incentive layer of the internet today. We have payment processor, like Amazon's hooked up to every method of payment through the credit system. Bitcoin is going to be the method of payment as well. And I think that the missing puzzle piece for gaming is they need to ditch gaming tokens. Gaming tokens, like as an incentive layer for the game, need to go. You want digital assets, buy a digital sword, get some digital armor. Yeah, totally. That's fine. That makes sense. But if you want to create incentives, if you want to have competitions inside of the game, the prize is Bitcoin. Because we've seen all of the companies try and do it with their own token, and the only reason they're doing it with their own token is because they are trying to enrich themselves with their own token. With the underlying asset being an agreed upon unit of account, medium of exchange, store of value, whatever, you are not reliant on the success of the game to hold value of the currency. And now it's a matter of, is the game popular? How many people are entering tournaments? And what are the stakes? What is the ratio of game sales? Because that's how it has to be, like game sales. So you got to buy the game, you got to buy the digital assets, and a percentage of the revenue goes towards incentives. So the percentage of the Bitcoin collected goes towards incentives. That's the formula. That's the formula that will work. But nobody is doing it because everybody's a greedy fucking pig. So the moment we get a gaming company that decides not to be a greedy pig and follow the formula that will work, you're going to see some very impressive AAA blockchain games. Real world assets will also be a driver in the crypto space. Yep. I don't know if they're going to be a driver. They're just going to be there. Everything will be tokenized. And everything will be tokenized on the Bitcoin network. Your house will be on the Bitcoin network. Your car will be on the Bitcoin network. The key, you'll have a car key. It'll be in an app in NFT form on the Bitcoin network, and that'll be your car key. Where the reason that we have so much, the reason that this stuff hasn't really taken off is because we are trying to do all these things that blockchain technology can do with a different token, with a scam coin. So scams slow down progress. Speaking of scams, Fartcoin. Actually, let's take a look at some RWA projects. Or no, DPIN. I'm really looking forward to play to earn models. It will completely lift third world countries. If they're good, you know, Axie Infinity wasn't real. We're never going to see Axie Infinity again. You know, you're not going to lift the third world. You know, we can get into some really meta conversations about third worlds and what their role to play is with Bitcoin. I actually think that the biggest fundamental driver for buoying, you know, third world or developing countries is going to come from Bitcoin mining. The cheaper your energy production, the more profitable of a miner you are. This is one of the biggest equalizers in the world right now. Like American mining companies, good fucking luck, dude. Good fucking luck. You will produce a historic amount of hash power out of necessity, not out of profitability. Whereas you go, I don't know, some South American country like Honduras or Uruguay or something with like a ton of hydroelectric power, or, you know, the nations like Dubai, not that they need the help, but they've got nuclear power. The more cheap the energy production, the more economic advancement, the more economic power is going to come into that area. So countries that don't have a lot of money, all of a sudden are going to have a lot of money because they're limited to selling power to poor people. How the fuck are you supposed to make money if you're selling power to poor people? I'm using offensive language. Please don't get offended by the language that I'm choosing to use. But the point I'm trying to make here is you have a valuable asset. You have the best power customer in the world. The best power customer in the world is a Bitcoin miner. If you have cheap energy, you will bring Bitcoin into that country. When you bring Bitcoin into that country, you will enrich the lives of hundreds of people, and those hundreds of people are going to spend their Bitcoin, their new riches, in that entire economy, and you're going to have trickle-down effects of Bitcoin buoying those areas. Do I think that that's going to be gaming? No, because the only way for gaming to work is in the tournament form. You have to be a really fucking good gamer. And then you're just getting paid as an entertainer because people like to watch people who are really good at video games play video games. So you're getting paid as an entertainer. But bringing economic energy into a developing nation through Bitcoin mining is going to have massive trickle down economic effects that are going to affect everybody, whether they have a fucking cell phone or not. They're going to feel the benefits of Bitcoin bringing wealth to those areas. How do they afford the ASICs? It's not the people. It's not the people. Like, people will invest where there's cheap power. People will invest where there's cheap power, and those mines will need to be run by employees, and those employees will get paid a very competitive salary because it'll be a very competitive market. And then those employees are going to go for lunch in town, and they're going to support their local businesses. They're going to opt not to cook at home because they have less free time, and they're distributing the wealth through the community. There's a trickle down economic effect to money, period. It's always been that way. When money comes into a part of the world, there's trickle down effects to that location where the money came in. That's why New York is so rich, because it attracted so much global money. This is why a lot of port cities are very rich, because they've attracted so much global money. The same thing will happen with Bitcoin. If you have cheap energy, you are going to attract global money to that area, and you're going to enrich everybody around that Bitcoin mine. A lot of third world countries are in hot countries. How do they cool it? You don't need to make them super cold. It is a matter of efficiency, but you just balance efficiency with the efficiency of the cost of production. So if you're hashing it, 4 cents per mega hash, or for kilowatt hour, 4 cents per kilowatt hour versus 11 cents per kilowatt hour, or 13 cents per kilowatt hour, you just run your machines less efficiently. They're still killing it. They don't need to be cold. They don't need to be super cooled. They don't need to be optimized for maximum efficiency because they pay so little in electricity. It'll equalize. It'll equalize everywhere. The future of energy is likely nuclear. The future of energy is extracting energy anywhere it can get. The most efficient use of energy is hydro. And I think that's the easiest. It's the easiest way to get energy. It's the most consistent. It's the most stable way. For those who don't know, I actually used to work on power grids. That's why I know so much about electricity and power generation and grids and all of that. Just as a sidebar. But the most efficient and easily most accessible, like you can do it anywhere. Water is running all over this planet. If you can capture the power of a river, boom, you got Bitcoin. Nuclear for sure, but that's a massive investment. And I don't know, but I feel as though the equipment costs for starting a nuclear power plant are going to be leaps and bounds above what a small community can do with just a small turbine that they can hook up to a river. The cost of generating electricity for, developing nations is going to be quite high. So they're going to need to go with kind of the easiest to maintain, cheapest, most readily available sources of energy production. And that's hydro. That's hydro all day long. It's the cheapest source of energy. It's the most consistent source of energy. So as long as they have running water, they'll be good. Liquidated shorts. Glad you're liking the content, friend. We have not done much charting whatsoever. We were going to take a look at Fartcoin, but I keep getting distracted. I don't think it's the time for alts. We'll just keep it at that. I don't think it's the time for alts. I know you guys are waiting for that day. So am I, because it does wonders for my YouTube channel When we are in altcoin season, my channel, like I've got 8,000 subscribers right now. I will grow to probably 25,000 in a matter of a month or two when altcoin season starts. It's so good for the channel when I'm bullish on alts, and it's so bad for the channel when I'm bearish on alts. But I give you guys the content that I think is true, and if you look back historically on the macro trends, I have never led you astray. If you want to get nitpicky with the small short-term moves, sure, you can find discrepancies. Nobody's perfect, but on the holistic, like, are we in a bull market, are we in a bear market picture, I have not led anybody astray. On the whole, you know, are we in an altcoin season, are we in an altcoin bear market, I have not led people astray, and I've made a shit ton of people. I've made a lot of money for a lot of people, and it's about timing the market. People say you can't time the market. It's not timing the market, it's time in market. Yes, but not for altcoins. Altcoins are 110% about timing the market. You can be late to altcoin season and be just fine. You do not want to be early to altcoin season. When you are early to altcoin season, you get fucked. When hydro is captured, then nuclear will be considered. I think nuclear has a long way to go. Nuclear has huge potential, but it has a long way to go, and hydro is not going anywhere anytime soon. It's not going to be captured anytime soon. It is the most abundant form of energy in the world by a large margin. All right, I think we've run out of things to say. I mean, I got plenty to talk about on the on all these side tangents that have nothing to do with TA. But as far as the TA, I think we're good. Just to recap on Bitcoin, I'm bullish. We're going to be at 100K by the end of the week, and by the end of the month, we're going to be at an all-time high break. And by the end of the year, we'll be over $250,000 a coin. So when in doubt, zoom out. Don't lose sight of the big picture. Don't fuck yourself over by over trading, and certainly don't use leverage on altcoins. If you guys are looking for more interaction with me, if you want to hang out, I'm in Discord like all day, like an embarrassing amount of time. I'm hanging out in the Discord channel. So if you want to come in and say hi and hang out and be part of a fun community that's trading these markets to the best of our professional abilities. Many of us are living off of our trading proceeds. Then come on in. It's free. Blackbox.pro, BLKBöX.pro. We will see you guys in the group. That is all the time I have for today. If you guys enjoyed this content, please leave it a like. Do me a solid. Leave it a like for the algos. Pump up the likes for the algos. And until next time, please trade safe. It is a jungle out there. Peace.